apologies that you need to record?
Yes, we've got apologies, which I'll put on the chat screen right now. So we've got apologies from Marilyn and Murray Davidson, Helen and Laurie McDougall, Rebecca Young up at the hotel, Bill and C Blackwell, John and Mary Neild, and Caroline and Tony Russell. So they're the only apologies that I have at the moment. So.
Okay, thank you very much for that, John. Moving then fairly quickly to the minutes of the previous meeting, which was held almost a year ago. Laurie or John, do you want to pop them up on the screen? Laurie, would you like to pop those minutes up on the screen for us, please?
Sorry, wait me a sec. Just playing with two screens here. Where'd they go? What, everyone? Don't mind me. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh my Lord, where did it go? This is the...
Well, look, let's not stress too much about that. I can go to a print version. And
I can share that if you want, Laurie.
Oh, okay, yeah, John, if you do
okay.
that, that'd be great. I'll make you co-host because yes, I had the PowerPoint up and then everything was hidden behind it. That's great.
Where are you? Oh, there you are.
Right,
Okay.
do you want me to talk to them, or you guys are happy?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Well,
so
just
everyone can see those, no doubt. So do you want me to read them, or do you want me to just sort of go through slowly? And what do you want me to do? I can read them quickly.
well, yeah.
Okay, open 2 o'clock, present Ruth, John, me, that is Rebecca, Ellen Day, Laurie Modd, Bev and Phil Woodman, Charmaine Fripp, Chris and Doug Crawford, Claire and Bob Barden, Gary Lamble, John Mills, Marilyn Davidson, Laurie and Helen McDougall, Tony and Di Herford, Colleen and Jeff Catford, C Blackwell, Murray Gill, yeah. Anyway, Zayda.
Go by both names, John.
You go by both names. Yeah, thanks, Murray. Wilma Fitzer and Nell Coombs. Apologies from Graham and Ross Slater, Dennis Limbert, Elizabeth and Gordon Fife. That the AGM previous minutes at the AGM minutes of the 29th of September 2020 be accepted, moved by Ellen Day, seconded Rebecca Young, and it was carried. President's report was presented by Ruth and is attached at the back of these minutes, moved by acclamation. Treasurer's report was presented, see attached breakdown. General notes, the report contains not only the BIC, as in the Visitors Information Centre and the Caravan Park activity, but also the grant activity from Stetra. Yes? Motion that the Treasurer's report be accepted, moved by myself and seconded. Was carried. Ruth then stood down. All positions were declared vacant. Laurie Modd took the chair for the election of the office bearers. The election of the office bearers following positions were filled. President, Mrs. Ruth Sando, nominated by me, seconded by Claire. Vice President Rebecca, nominated by Ruth, seconded Phil. Secretary Treasurer, myself, nominated Ruth, seconded Tony and Bev, Tony Herford and Bev Woodman, and that was appointed. Public officer Ellen Day, nominated. John Isles, seconded. Ruth Sando, nominated by John Isles. Ruth Sando, seconded. Volunteer roster coordinator. No one appointed. No one nominated me. I just got put in there. Oh well, that's life.
Right, you do need it for those positions.
Like the project coordinator, Ruth Sando. General business, Sturt Steps project. Laurie Modd presented a comprehensive report on the status of the Sturt Steps project, which was well received. There being no further business, meeting closed at 3:10 p.m. Next meeting to be advised. Oh, there were some of the participants. Yeah, goodly roll up there. Yeah, the president's report. I won't read through that.
No.
Very comprehensive report, as you can see. And if anyone wants to see that, I'm sure we could send it out if necessary. Or I could put it up in the files section of the group's email if you wanted me to do that too. So
Thank you. That would be a good idea, John. Okay, can I just have somebody who was at that meeting to move that they were an accurate record of the meeting, please?
Yep, Bev.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Bev. Thank you, John. I think Colin was there, Charmaine was there, Ellen was there. You're all happy with those minutes?
Yes.
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 Yep.
Yes.
Good eye. All right. Right. Thank you very much. So we'll just go to a president's report. I will read through it, but it will also be provided, and there it is on the screen. So we'll just go through it fairly succinctly if we can. So 2022 has built on the activity of 2021 and can claim to have had the most successful year since we began operating the Visitor Centre and Heritage Precinct. As will be recorded in the financial statements, the Visitor Information Centre took just over $30,000 during the year, which is an amazing outcome given the latter part of 2021 included COVID restrictions and we were closed, as you all know, over the summer. Many thanks go to all the volunteers who have once again helped to run the centre and maintain the facilities. Without your love, absolutely, and input into the centre, we would not be able to function. The year in review. There were no significant public events during 2022. Projects completed. Projects funded through the STEPS project have continued to dominate the activities. Early in 2022, the caravan park was terraced to provide level sites for caravans. This resulted in around 20 sites altogether, including 8 powered sites. Each is large enough for vehicles to be driven in, driven out. Areas of garden have been constructed at the edge of several of the caravan plots and planted with native shrubs. Each has been connected to a dripper system, watering system. A camp kitchen and sheltered meeting place has almost been completed and will add significant value to the attractiveness of the caravan park. The fence to the south of the park was removed and a track constructed to the dump point near the bore. The area to the south is Crown Land Reserve, over which we have management. During 2022, it has been underutilised as additional camping areas due to it being a repository for construction crew, plant and materials. As the year ends, most of this has been cleared off and we can look forward to expanding camping into the area. There are now 3 additional showers and toilets on that reserve and we're just waiting for power and water connections. The new Sturt Kidman room and archival space was completed and has been well received by visitors. The former post office preservation work has been completed with the stonework, roof and flooring installed. It does look absolutely fantastic, I have to tell you.
Does.
There is a deck surrounding the building and a disability access ramp. We're still waiting for the windows, doors and skylight to be installed. Writing has commenced for the interpretation of the postal, telegraph and telephone history, as well as information about the rabbit-proof fence, which, as we all know, became the wild dog fence. As mentioned in the 2021 report, we have also acquired a significant mineral, rock and fossil collection, made possible by the generosity of volunteer Charmaine Fripp. The centre will be known as the Percy and Doris Fripp Rock and Mineral Centre. Later in this meeting, Laurie will show you some footage or film that was taken in it. It is really going to be quite fantastic.
Thank you.
As also referred to in the 2021 report, the additional accommodation space for a caretaker for the growing caravan and camping areas has recently been installed. This is a single bedroom cottage located on the southeastern corner of the existing caravan park. With the growth of the precinct and the caravan park area, it has been found that an extra pair of hands helps to maintain the garden areas, paths, take the rubbish to the tip, and so on. Since August, we have had a team dedicated to this role, and they have done a wonderful job. Work on the Harry Blore Park continued in early 2022. The area has now been completely landscaped to include a children's memorial and astronomy area. The memorial section has been completed with slate slabs engraved with the names of children who died around the turn of the 20th century. They are installed on the Loftus Street side and were carved by Wilcannia-based artist sculptor Ian Marr. The western side of that area has been landscaped to enable the installation of a large representation of Calci, which is the dark sky emu seen against the Milky Way from March through to October, as well as a planisphere, which will enable night visitors to readily identify commonly known constellations. The emu is being constructed by sculptor Harry Fasher and will be installed in December now, as of yesterday. The planisphere was designed by well-known astronomers Fred Watson and Marnie Ogg. The area has been landscaped and planted with low-growing native shrubs and also connected to a dripper system. Around the town, the old information posts that were dotted have been replaced with Sturt Steps markers, each containing information about each of the historical sites within the town. And we will be redeveloping the walking tour to take in all of those locations as well. Communications. As we all know, the Telstra network coverage in Milparenca is very ordinary. As part of the Sturt Steps project, mobile phone coverage has been extended with the installation of a booster on the ablution block and another at the hotel. It does not provide greater speed, but does provide additional coverage around the town. So basically, you can be almost anywhere within the traditional caravan park or Harry Blore Park or up in the sheds and mining centre, and you will have some form of mobile coverage. Projects pending. The town entry signs are still being installed on the Loftus Street and Mount Shannon Road entrances. Wires, sculptor Brian Campbell, who's responsible for one of the mammals out at Fort Grey, is in the process of constructing a life-size model of Charles Sturt and his horse, which we had planned to be located at the turnoff on the highway. We're actually thinking of moving it to a site closer to Milparenca and very likely along Loftus Street, somewhere there. Importantly, water security. Early in 2022, the solar pump on the town dam failed and was replaced by Milparenca Heritage and Tourism. The association also purchased a firefighter pump that is kept in the desalination room as an emergency backup. While rainfall during 2022 has meant that the community has not suffered any water shortages, work has continued toward ensuring that in the future the precinct will be self-reliant through the use of bore water where possible, recycled water in some instances, and rainwater capture and storage. We also have the desalination unit, which can operate as a backup in times of need. Ideally, we are working towards being as independent of town water supply as we can by recycling and storing as much water as possible. Power security. As previously reported, Milparinka has limited access to power. As demand grows, so does the risk of town overload. Approaches have been made to Essential Energy, Regional Development and the local member Roy Butler for assistance to support the installation of a new transformer and a new transformer. And that gets a little bit complicated. And so we're also looking at putting in a solar battery solution. All new buildings will also have solar panels installed. I'll just stop there because one of the concerns, and you people might view your opinions about this later in the meeting. One of the concerns that the Sturt Steps Committee has, or project management has, is that the plans for a new transformer include the installation of 2 new power poles and overhead wires, which would go straight across the caravan park. Needless to say, we're not exactly thrilled about that, and so we'll do our level best to find some other alternate. Opportunities. With the completion of all of the proposed Milparinka museum and interpretive spaces, we will cover off an amazing list of topics within the town. I won't read through them all because they're all there in front of you, but it just beggars belief that this little tin pot town with a population of about 8 will, within a couple of months, 6 months at the max, have spaces within the town which will record or interpret all of that subject matter. It's actually, it's just amazing, and it's down largely to the Sturt Steps project and the funding from Restart New South Wales. But it begs also a question about making those resources available to a wider range of people, including students who might be high school students on excursions, university students studying anything from Indigenous history to geology to mining history to all of those subject areas, but they have nowhere that is reasonable within the town for them to stay. Quite inappropriate for young people, high school kids particularly, to be accommodated at the hotel. So we're looking at putting in some bunkhouse type units. I can say that I'm confident that we've got some funding through Regional Development Australia that will help us put some of them, but we're not quite there yet, and we'll just see where it lands in the next few weeks. But this will also create an additional workload that will have to be taken up probably by the caravan park caretaker, and we'll talk a bit more about that if and when it all takes place. Thanks, John. Marketing, as you know, the Milparinka Heritage and Tourism Association maintains ownership of the website. Visit cornercountry.com.au. We own outbacknewsouthwales.com or nsw.com.au, cornercountry.com.au, milparinka.com, sturtsteps.com.au. So a whole range of domains that we actually have ownership and control over. And we also have trademarked Sturt Steps, so that that protects our future as far as using that name and branding going forward. Recently, we've had discussions with Destination New South Wales. They've been reasonably satisfactory insofar as, although we've not been able to secure a dedicated annual marketing support from destination or destination country and outback, which covers our area, we have been given a commitment that grants made to Broken Hill City Council must include marketing for Corner Country and also Central Darling Shire. So they've just been granted somewhere between $250,000 and $375,000. The figure varies depending on who you talk to, but we will at least have access and be part of a cooperative marketing campaign through Broken Hill, which is good, better than, But having said that, word of mouth is potentially still our best marketing tool, and obviously costs nothing to undertake. So I'll just skip forward, Jen, to the summary. In summary, Milparinka continues to grow as an important must-see destination, definitely increasing numbers of visitors who are willing to stay longer, and we expect that trend to continue. We're gaining notoriety as a must-see destination, and the impact is very definitely being seen through the sales and at the visitor centre. It's a really pleasing trend when you consider that, when we started, and Charmaine, you were there right at the beginning when we started off with a volunteer program. If we made $3,000 or $4,000 a year, that was a good year. And now, with a minimal year, we're actually able to generate a gross income of around $30,000, and we expect that to continue to grow. None of this is at all possible without the many people who have helped to make it possible. All of the volunteers, all of you, but especially to John Isles, to Bev and Philip Woodman, who stepped in when others couldn't come along, just as Jeff and Colleen moved to Milparinka almost permanently during COVID last year. But then more recently, those three parties have joined forces to review roles and responsibilities for the volunteer group and the caretaker role, and made some recommendations that we will look at as a committee for future management. I also have to acknowledge Rebecca's contribution. She can't be with us tonight because it's young Luke's graduation from high school dinner in Adelaide. So she has given us her apology, but she does provide a lot of support.
Luke's graduation.
And pardon?
That's all right. I've just muted Beverly. That's all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, mute Beverly.
Anyway, that's all right. But I have to say again and again and again that thank you to you, Laurie, because without you and your guidance and support, and Mark Pascoe from Public Works Authority, we would be still, kicking up the dust in Milparinka. And
Team
now, we've got a really bright future.
Yeah. And look, none of it
So
would
onwards and
you
upwards.
can dream it up. So can I say?
I spend a lot of time dreaming, putting it that way. So I'm happy to take questions from anyone about what we've just talked about, or I've just talked about. And also Laurie, of course, is there, and I'm sure she's more than happy to provide some answers if you need them, and then we'll go to the Treasurer's report.
Ruth,
silent.
Ruth, it's Ellen.
If not, yeah.
Ruth, it's
Yes,
Ellen.
Mm-hmm.
Morning, God. Good evening, everyone. I'm on holidays and I've had a glass of wine, as you can tell.
Only one.
Hey, my only concern with that report, Ruth, is I know it's only $5,000, but earlier in the year I applied for a $5,000 grant with the Milparinka Heritage Association banner, And I feel that somewhere along the way that needs to be included in something so that if ever we
Yeah.
get audited, that is included. I know it's really minor in the scheme of things, but just to tick all the
No,
boxes, I'd
yeah.
like that in there somewhere, if that's okay, please.
Yeah. Oh, good point, Ellen. Sorry, I did forget to mention that. And I'll just, Ellen, would you like to just explain what happened with that money, the really fabulous project that you ran on our behalf?
So it was a $5,000 grant to run a couple of, it came out of Women's Week, and we were going to run a couple of events at Milparinka. Unfortunately, the turnaround for the approvals was really, really slow. And by the time we got approved with the money, it was probably, I'm going to say early February, which made it a really tight turnaround to get the events up and running at Milparinka. And then it also rained. So we just had to vary the agreement and hold events in Broken Hill instead. So we just had, I think it was 3 workshops that we held in Broken Hill instead of at Milparinka, which was sort of the original plan. But we had an approval, a variation of the funding, and it was all, legit and above board, etc. And in fact, I was talking to Bronnie Taylor the other day, who's wildly excited that we spent $5,000 of some of her project funding at Milparinka. So, yeah, she loved it.
So we better make sure we did spend it at Milparinka. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ellen. Thanks very much. Anybody else with a comment or question?
Yeah, hi Ruth. Dennis here. How are you?
I'm well,
Can you hear
thank
me?
you, Dennis. Good to see
Yeah,
you.
that's good.
Yes,
Thank
I can
you.
hear you.
Yeah, it was good to see Harry Fisher's name up there too. She's an Oberon local, so she's not far from me. The post office, is there a time frame when the windows and the skylight and everything are going to be finished, or is it sort of a
Yes.
when
Yes.
it happens, it
So
happens?
I can actually answer. Well, subject to change at nobody's notice or notification, but it's probably in the next mid-November, I believe.
Oh, okay.
What Dennis is talking about, as most of you will know, the post office has some fabulous views through big tall windows and doors, as well as when it didn't have a roof, it had the most amazing blue skies above to see. So rather than block all of that off, the architects who designed the structure that's now there has left a big skylight in the roof around the chimney. So that will be installed. Yeah, so you can see there. So we wanted to retain that fabulous blue sky view. So where there are windows, it'll just be glass will go in there. There'll be no movement in the glass. It'll just be a simple frame going in. The doorways will be glass doors as well. And around the chimney, not exactly like you see there, but around the chimney, it will also be glass. And if we're worried about ventilation, don't be, because as you can see there in that photograph, when the roof frame, or here, you can see those pictures there, that there is plenty of ventilation that comes in under the roof frame. So it's going to be, quite airy in there. So we're not worried about ventilation. And when the interpretive material, we're not changing any of those walls, internal walls again. They'll be left bare like that. Even the plaster will be left as it is. And we will carefully arrange any interpretive material and display items around that. But it has created a really lovely space, and it very likely would have a number of fabulous uses going forward. But let's get the building finished. So in answer to your question, the short answer, mid-November, Dennis.
Yeah, no,
Fingers
perfect.
crossed.
Thank you. No, look, we're really excited to see it when we were up there. I can't remember when we were up there now, but also the visitors that we had in the visitor centre were really interested in it as well. So I think it's going to be a great addition.
10th
It will be.
23rd
We've
of
got-
July, Dennis, was when you were up there.
Sorry?
The 10th to the 23rd of July was when you were up there.
My goodness, seems like a lifetime, John. A lifetime away. It seemed like a lifetime after I was back at work for a week.
Yes.
We actually,
All right, so just any other,
we christened the
Yeah,
post
sorry.
office when we were up there. We had happy hour in there one night.
oh, good.
Didn't
That's
spill
a really
anything,
good
did you?
idea.
It was lovely.
It is. Yeah. Canapes and champagne, I think.
Oh, no, nothing
would
like
be-
that.
anyway. No, but it lends itself to that.
More
Okay,
like
there's,
Jats and red
no other-
wine. I think.
All right, whatever.
Ruth,
Yeah.
Ruth,
Um,
Ruth, Dennis again.
John.
And
yeah, go on.
yeah, sorry, Dennis again. One of the big attractions seems to be the silo art and the silo art trail. And I know from memory, isn't there some murals on one of the buildings up there? I can't remember now.
Yes.
The-
On
the-
two sides of the pastoral shed, there is
Yep.
a big
Yeah,
mural.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have we
Jody Davis.
thought of murals for the geology museum and the other sides of the sheds up there?
Definitely not. But no.
Okay.
When you see it, you'll understand why. But
Okay.
having said that, the three new ablution blocks, we very definitely have considered murals for them, and we're looking at Indigenous art for each of them. But that's a little bit down the track. But no, the gem, we'll call it the Gem Centre for abbreviation. No, not on it
And you
at this stage anyway.
we show
Any,
you.
any other questions before we go on to the Treasurer's report?
Just very quickly, Ruth, I remember walking around the post office with you one day and we were looking at that area immediately at the back of the post office, and we were discussing, how it could be used maybe for giving a talk or a video, photographic, whatever. It is a potentially lovely area. Has there been much thought given to that?
I know exactly what you mean, John. Jeff, sorry.
It's a good-looking one, sorry.
I've given no thought whatsoever, because at this stage, just leaving it as a blank canvas. Nothing. I've got no intention of putting anything in there until we know exactly what the potential of that building is, and then we can all, share our ideas. But showing movies, you could have I don't know. It is a really nice space. So that's for 2023, and I look forward to your input into it, both. Okay, moving on. John, over to you.
Laurie, do you want to share my screen again if you could?
Yeah.
Or I can share my
Yep,
screen.
you've got
now.
access. So if you want to share, I've got it as well. But if you want to drive it, that's fine.
Okay. So just some notes on the financial report. Financial records of the Milparinka Heritage and Tourism Association Corporation include monies paid into the accounts held by the Association for grants, including the ongoing management of the Sturt Steps project. The following figures reflect this income and expenditure for the year ended the 30th of June 2022. Highlighted is the actual trading income generated through the Visitor Information Centre and the costs associated with running the precinct and the caravan park. So, if I now switch over to, that's the general balance sheet. So remembering that this also includes Steps project money. Total assets 191,307 and 15 cents. Liabilities 188,035 and 9 cents. Net assets, equity, total equity $188,035 and 9 cents. And then the bits that are highlighted here are the bits for the visitor centre. So as you can see there, our trading income through the visitor centre around $30,074 and
Pretty good, isn't it?
cent. Don't forget the 1 cent. And the expenses 700 in advertising, 176 including product donations 2,759. Do you want to just comment what the donations were? I think that's worth noting.
Yes. I'd like to actually. During the Lismore floods, particularly, I was approached to see if we would be the conduit for donations paid into our account and then going out to some of the victims, if we can use that word, of the Lismore floods. So we had a number of donations paid to us, and then they were paid out, and that figure there of $2,759.09 represents a significant portion of that money, but also a few other bits and pieces cost, you know, it's a bit of a bizarre figure, but that's how that came about.
Right. Okay.
So it was our way of being able to support, you know, people who were desperately in need.
Yeah.
And happy to do that.
Yeah. So I wanted you to highlight that because I thought that was a really good thing to do. So general expenses 900, insurance 1149.81, light, power and heating, as you can see, costs us 3,210, and if you believe everything that's going on at the moment, that's only going to go up. So any of the solar support that we can get out of that will be very good. Merchandise, paying out for merchandise 23.43.92 cents. Repairs, maintenance, always an ongoing thing. Telephone and internet, also always an ongoing thing. Volunteer expenses, which I am, you don't have a breakdown of those generally?
No, I don't. But
Right.
it's probably reimbursement for goods purchased, or you know, something like that, along that line.
Because often we will buy stuff, especially you know, I've come to recommending that each of the volunteers, and that's why we put up on the volunteer calendar, that's why we put up the telephone numbers that each of the volunteers can contact the next volunteer, or the next volunteer can contact the existing volunteers, and amongst other things, find out if they need anything brought up from Broken Hill or wherever. And I think most of us have been in that situation. So that's the report. There's any
Thank
questions?
you.
No?
Yeah. Any questions to John?
It's Ellen.
Nothing.
Good,
to
no,
add?
good. Moving on.
Yes, Ellen.
So I've got two questions. What does historical adjustments mean? And my second question is the travel expenses. Like, why do we have travel expenses? And like, not that I Not that I'm questioning it as such, I'm just curious.
The travel costs under the Sturt not highlighted, so that's part of Sturt Steps costs involved in people. Laurie, you might
I can
want
touch
best
that.
to explain.
Yeah, Ellen, that's part of the Sturt Steps budget. So there was travel costs associated with installers and other people that are coming in where they're getting costs reimbursed as part of the installer project work. So that's outside of Paprika Heritage Tourism operations, and just solely, as Ruth said, anything unhighlighted is Sturt Steps. And
Cool, thank you.
What was the first question? Sorry, Ellen, was there a first question that we didn't cover?
Ellen,
Yeah, shoot.
She
Ellen,
gone?
yeah, what was your first question?
On the first page that John had,
Yep.
it was historical adjustments, and I just wondered what that was referring to.
Okay, John, can you go there? Okay, yep, it's
Sorry.
probably to do with coding from the previous year, but let me just jump into Xero and have a look. Take that on notice, keep going.
Yeah, it was 27,000, I think. I just wondered what that referred to.
I've highlighted it there on my screen, so on my shared screen.
I have a feeling there was some coding errors from the previous year, but it would have come out in your suspense. So it's probably a mix of both. Hang on. Keep going and I'll get this up for you.
While Laurie's just looking for that, I just want to add that because we have so much money going through our books now, we when it comes to the Office of Fair Trading, we actually mandated to have our books audited, and Tapping Broken Hill he did them last year, and there were no issues, and we were passing these records onto him again, so that post this meeting we get an audited report, and then that goes through the Office of Fair Trading for their, big tick.
And I'm not questioning anything,
Laurie,
Ruth.
it may
I'm
have-
just,
Yeah,
No, I know. I'm just,
yeah, Ellen, it's
Yeah.
carried over from the previous year. There's no transactions in 21-22. Sorry, John, I'm going to take over your screen for a minute.
Sure.
So, Ellen, this is live, and it's good you ask. Honestly, this is good checking. So this is carried over from the last year, so there would have been some coding. So it's just carried across because it's historical. I think once we get into this financial year and tidy up Sturt Steps, you'll see this go. But yeah, it looks like it was a historical. If I go the year prior. If I could type, it'd be dangerous. Yeah, it's carried over from then too. So I reckon it's when Sturt Steps started, which was April 20, and it's carried over since then. So you'll probably find that it'll readjust itself next financial year.
thank you.
No worries. Any questions while I'm in the file? Sorry, don't look at my tabs.
Thanks, Ellen. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm not sure of formality here, but are we meant to have someone move that the Treasurer's report be accepted?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Can we have a mover then, please? That the Treasurer's report be accepted?
I think the Treasurer requests
Thank you,
that,
Dennis.
and he's the mover, isn't he?
He can be.
Okay, good on you, John.
All right, I'll and is that you seconding there, Dennis? Yes.
Yep, sorry, I had it on mute.
No worries. I could see you waving that. So all in favour?
Yay. Voices from the background.
And squeaky chair.
Oh,
I meant-
sorry. Is that my squeaky chair?
I meant to also move that Ruth's report be accepted by acclamation. So
Yes.
Righto. Okay. Thank you.
Well done.
You'd think after all these years I'd know this. So thank you very much. All right.
yes,
Well, we now come to item 5 on our agenda, which is election of office bearers. And so I'm going to hand over to you, please, Laurie.
No worries.
And I'll leave the building.
Don't go far.
Anyway.
has left the building.
And look, I know she's thanked everyone on screen and myself included, but yeah, a huge thanks, Ruth. I mean, your tireless efforts and commitment to this project when you were also a volunteer in this whole thing as well is to be commended. So I just want that minuted and noted. Yes, thank the outgoing chair. But do I have nominations for the chair of Milparinga Heritage Tourism Association for the year 22-23?
Ruth Sando.
Yeah, Ruth Sando.
What a great nomination. Seconded, Colleen?
Seconded.
All in favour?
Yay.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Ruth. You are.
I
You're
didn't
back
say
in the
I was going to
building.
accept the nomination.
I didn't even give you the chance. Did you want to continue with the others, or do you want me
Tyranny. No, you're doing a good job there, Laurie. I'll let you keep on.
to-
Yeah,
Okay, can I
thank you.
call for nominations for vice chair?
Did Rebecca indicate her interest in doing it or not?
No, I didn't ask her actually, but I think in absentia, I think we'll just nominate her anyway. And then if she doesn't like it, well, I guess she'll let us
Call a
know.
special meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to nominate. Rebecca as vice chair.
Okay, any seconders for that nomination? Great, thanks, Jack. Is there anyone that would like to stand against Rebecca? Don't all jump up at once. Okay. All right. Those in favour of accepting Rebecca as vice chair?
Yep.
Great. Any
Yep.
opposed? Right, motion carried. Rebecca is vice chair. Congratulations, Beck. Do we have nominations for public officer?
Oh, we have to do secretary treasurer.
Yeah, I thought we'd do, okay, we can do either way, it doesn't matter. Do you want secretary? We'll start with secretary.
Combined role.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate John Isles as combined secretary treasurer
Okay,
of Milparinga Heritage and Tourism.
John, do you accept?
Happy to accept.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any opposed to the nomination? I think that's unanimous, John. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. So back to public officer, sorry. Any nominations for public officer?
I'll nominate Ellen, and then I don't have to change the bookwork.
This is true. Ellen, do you accept?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Ellen,
And
I'll second that.
thanks, John. Okay, great. Any against that motion? Great, congratulations, Ellen, you're public officer for the next year. Awesome. Any other positions you want to vote on, Ruth, or are they assigned volunteer coordinators and the like?
no, well, I guess it's probably fairly important that I continue as a project coordinator for Milparinga. So if everyone's happy with that, we'll take it as read. The volunteer rostering might be a bit of a concern though, Laurie.
Okay, so the volunteer coordination and rostering is any
You
nomination?
should just stay with John, I think.
On.
Yep, okay. I think
He's
that's,
got us all rounded up.
he even knew when Dennis was there. I'm not arguing. Okay, great. Anyone opposed to that nomination?
Yeah, speak now, forever hold your peace, or you'll take the job on yourself. I don't mind.
Awesome. Well done, John. Okay. Is there any other positions there, Ruth, that you need?
Look, there's a group a position
Mhm.
that I think is really important going forward. And John and Bev and Jeff and Colleen fulfilled a really important role just recently by going back and reviewing the operations of the precinct
Mhm.
and making some recommendations about how the volunteer role, the caretaker roles, but also some management, day-to-day management strategies.
Mhm.
And it begs the point that I think that we need a standing committee who are people who are active on the ground up there as volunteers and working within the precinct, and that can consider some of these operational matters. So look, I'll open it up to whoever, but if it doesn't have to be a big unwieldy group.
Mhm.
Sometimes the smaller the group, the more efficiently it can work. But anyway, that's what I think is important going forward.
So, Mike, more like an operational subcommittee, is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do we have
Yeah.
nominations for anyone wanting to join that subcommittee to look at projects and efficiencies of the operations?
Maybe with the caretaker.
Yeah, I think Phil and I'd be happy to be involved in that. And yeah, I think just to have a small group, but I think at times maybe ask all the volunteers to submit. If you know that you're going to have a meeting, maybe ask them for their input as well, so that it can be addressed. Yeah.
I'd be happy to coordinate
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
like you did, if you're interested in having me do it.
Mike and I'd be interested in being part of it as well. Colin and I, that is.
Yep. That.
Awesome. So we've got Beverly, and who's with you, Bev? Sorry, just so we
Yeah. Phil and Bev.
Phil and Bev, yep.
Yep.
Jack and Colleen and John coordinating. Any other nominations? Great. Okay, I think that's a good group. And as you say, as needed, let everyone know. And if they want to show up, that's great. Well done.
I think what I will do as roster coordinator is ask for a brief report at the end of each stint, with some highlights and lowlights and recommendations generally.
Yeah.
And I'll coordinate that into a couple of get-togethers with the group during the year, during the active part of the year, and then we can provide a written report onto Ruth, if that is a good way of going.
Yeah.
Seemed to work this
I think
last
so.
one anyway. Yeah.
John, I think that's a great idea. And I wonder if it'd be worth putting together 3 or 4 questions just so you get some sort of consistency from the volunteers around.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Murray, I think I think at our next meeting, at our first meeting, I guess, then we can thrash that out as to half a dozen questions or 3 or 4 questions. Please, answer these. Many of the volunteers over the years have done notes up for the next volunteer and or for the next volunteer group, and they don't really go anywhere other than the next volunteer picks them up and has a look. They find them, because generally what we've tried to do is to get a personal handover, but that's not always possible. But I think, yeah, just additionally to get them when they get home, while it's still fresh in their minds, you know, what we have, you know, got any recommendations, advice, things we could do better, things, you know, that sort of thing, and we'll massage that and then provide that back to Ruth for consideration and go down.
Send a copy to John, yeah.
Yeah, because you get funny little things crop up. As I was talking the other day, you know, just little operational things that happen that might never happen again. But if it's documented somewhere and people can refer back to it, you know, maybe a little procedures manual or something, doesn't have to be complicated, but, you know, just things like the till, the phone, FPOS, little things, you know, it could be just written down in a book, you know, specifically for that, and even a little "where is it" book or something or other.
Gotta fix that bloody cash register.
That's your best friend, John. I
The
know.
phone, please, nobody turn the phone off in the barracks, even if you think it doesn't work, because only the one in the office that works on batteries until they go flat, and then you've got no phone.
She'll be right.
Yeah.
Yes, happy to do that, Ruth.
Good idea from them.
Very good. Oh, that's terrific. Well, thank you all. No, I just think, you know, you people are at the coalface. I wouldn't know how to work cash register or the FPOS machine. I've got absolutely no idea.
Let's throw her in there.
We can teach you, Ruth. Don't worry.
I doubt it. Anyway, all good. All right.
It's Ellen, Ruth.
Anybody else want to? Yeah, yes, Ellen.
So I'd like to make a suggestion for people to think about, probably not at this point, but before the next sort of tourist season starts, maybe in February, March. I'd like to put together a bit of a program so that the volunteers can actually, or whoever chooses to, obviously, can actually do some interviews with our local ABC and newspaper. I know that we hear from Ruth from time to time on local, you know, radio stations and whatever. But I think that that it's time that we also broaden the involvement and the ownership of what's happening at Milparinka in terms of including our volunteers in some of these the stories and the things that are promoted about the you know, going to Milparinka. So I don't know what the appropriate thing is to do, but I just wanted to just highlight that, and yeah, just think we should start thinking about it.
I think Dennis did a really good interview on Macca's program. Was it Dennis that did it?
Thank you for that.
So many people say, you know, that they, when we were up there, you know, said, oh, we heard, you know, one of the volunteers on the radio, and I thought, well, that's good.
Yeah, and you know, my mother listens to Macca every Sunday, but she didn't listen that day.
Yeah,
but that's all good because she had somebody from Nyngan ring her and tell her. But
yeah, and I think that
I reckon
Simon,
ring up Macca a couple of times.
No, forget Macca. No, forget Macca. We need. I'm not a fan, but that's got nothing to do with anything. But we also need to just broaden that. Like, you know, there's this the weekend show in Sydney, Simon Marnie, and just even local. I think the people in Broken Hill need to know how much is happening in their region because of other people, because of people that aren't in, you know, do you know what I mean? Like, we need to promote it locally as well as, but also, as I said, RN, and there's some fabulous shows on RN and also on Sydney radio that, and Sally Bryant in Wagga, and some of those local people that have a passion for the Far West. And I'm happy to put my hand up and be a bit of a conduit and start something, like get something going in relation to that if everyone's up for it. But we just need to, you know, like John and Colleen and Mari, you know, you guys that are doing the volunteering, you need to be happy with being interviewed, being spoken to, and being out there. So, yeah, I just want to bring that up.
I think it's a good idea.
Ellen, thank you. I totally agree. I think that would be really good, if you wouldn't mind taking that on board. But I also, over a number of years, we've been approached, or I've been approached by groups, individuals in places like Tibooburra, for example, White Cliffs, Menindee, Coburn, about a volunteer program. And it just, as much as I tell people or talk to them about it and how fabulous it is and what the benefits to a community can be through having volunteers like yourselves coming in and helping the community out, they need a bit of a push as well to get things going. I mean, White Cliffs has the solar, what do you call it? The solar generator.
Solar panel thing, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big solar dishes over there, and they're trying to get that up and running as a tourist attraction. And keen on having someone on site to sort of look after it. Tibooburra with the help me out here, Ellen. The
museum.
Yeah, museum.
The War Memorial Complex, where they've got all sorts of facilities in place now, but nobody to look after it. Apart, just do a bit of gardening, bit of cleaning, and so on. And so I was talking to Ashley Huff about that just recently. Coburn's another little town that has a need for volunteers, and certainly I talked with Mari Muscat, is it, Ellen, at Menindee?
Margot.
About
Margot.
Argo, beg your pardon.
Yep. Okay, so how about if I put my hand up to coordinate some kind of a project that can promote our volunteers and at the same time spread the word with what we're doing and how it could work for other regions and other communities, and make that part of what we do at Milparinka. Not only that we have our fabulous volunteers doing what they do, but also teaching other communities how that could work for them.
So
yep, I'm happy with that, Ellen.
I too
Laurie,
have spoken with.
Yes,
Sorry,
go, John, and I'll.
Yeah, I too have spoken with the guy down at White Cliffs. He rang me as well, Ruth, to suss out how we ran the volunteer group, and I gave him a rundown on how I've been doing it at any rate. Yes, he had been in touch with me as well.
We've actually indicated we're interested in helping out there next year too, if we can. Yeah.
So maybe that's something that if we need to put a project sort of outline together, for want of a better name for it, and then if I go back to that little volunteer subcommittee and basically see how you guys want to deal with it. You might actually want to run with it yourselves. But if we get some connections and if we get an idea of what it could look like, and then if I come back to you guys, and then you can decide what you want to do with it sort of going forward.
Sounds good.
Just on that, and Ruth
Sounds good, Ellen.
But I've submitted an abstract to present at the Volunteering Australia conference next year on your program.
Wow.
Well, there you go, Laurie. You've already done it.
Well, we haven't been accepted yet, but we put the abstract forward. So let's see if they get accepted. I think it'll be great to showcase that.
Perfect.
All right.
One of the comments we often get there as volunteering is, how come we all come from so far away? where are all the locals? And I said, well, that's typical of most areas, isn't it? It's, yeah, they're busy doing whatever. Yeah.
And there's not many of us. That's,
True.
that's probably.
I think the locals are just
Yeah.
living.
Surviving.
Mhm. Anyway, so look, thank you. That sort of almost brings us to the end of the business part. Laurie's got the fun part now. She's going to show us some
I like the fun
pretty
part.
pictures of bits and pieces that have been going on, not just in Wilparenka, but around the traps. Thanks, Laurie.
No worries, Ruth, and thank you. Please, everyone, if you want to ask questions, stop me as I go. It is death by PowerPoint in photo mode, so, but I'll take it through gradually. The first thing I wanted to recognise, which Ruth failed to mention, is that she was successful in putting forward the judge's commendation for the small tourist town of the year. So you might have seen that in the socials, which was awesome. And it was great to be there and receive that at the local government conference on behalf of Ruth and get it out to you. But yes, it's a great accolade because you're up there with Carcoar, who won it, and they're a lot bigger than Wilparenka.
They are.
To get judge's commendation was a great effort. Okay, so I'll take you through steps. If you remember from last year, there's multi-facets to this, but tonight from a photographic perspective, I'm going to take you through the 6 areas, which is the signage, the museum, the art trail, and the digital platform, the Cairn and the Night Sky Park, which is affectionately known as the Astronomy Park to Ruth and I, but when it comes to the signage, it'll probably be our Night Sky Park, which is right opposite the Heritage Precinct. So if you remember correctly, I just want to give everyone a bit of a perspective if you don't remember the trail that we proposed in the original grant application and what it was aimed to do, which was certainly following the 1,100 kilometres roughly round trip, and really pinpoint a tourism experience like no other that tried to trace Sturt's journey as close as possible, but interpret everything from Aboriginal heritage through to the stars, right through to current day and even emerging pastoral history, etc. So that I feel we have certainly done even to date. There's still a long way to go. Now these signs, would you believe they are printed? We just don't know where they are. There's 128 of these brown and white signs, and since I saw you last year, we have finally got approval and they've been in production, and now they're sitting in a pile somewhere in some transport depot. We're just negotiating with Transport now to get these installed. So 128 signs is not a small feat. So we want to make sure that we take that process with Transport lightly so we don't get charged a fortune for it, to be blatantly honest. But good news is we finally got approval. It was 1 year and 2 days it took to get approval. So there you go. Nothing happens fast in the government. You might remember these were the concepts I showed you last year going, isn't this wonderful? This is what they're going to look like. And guess what? We now have them in place. So you can see here, the left was the idea of the pylon, which we call the information post. This is the small posts that give little snippets of information, not a huge amount of content, but something of significance that we can reflect on a small panel. You can see these here in production, which is out at Botany near the airport in Sydney, with all of the manufacturing going on, for them to come into region and look like this. So they are now in place right across. There's only, I think, one of these two of these to be installed, but you can see the beautiful bandicoot in the middle bottom there is Brian Campbell's art piece, which is enormous. If you look at it in comparison to the picnic shelter right next to it, it'll give you an idea of the sign. I think I come up to just under his first ear. So yeah, it gives you the multitude of the size that's looking at. And also the bilby is basically just a little bit higher than myself, and I can probably put my hand on the quoll's head like this. So they're beautiful structures, all made out of the wire that was left over from the exclusion zone from the Wild Deserts Bilby project and Bandicoot project. You can see on the top right there the beautiful interpretation signs and how they are looking, which I can give you a bit of a picture of how that's, oh, sorry, let me go through the silhouettes first. At each site, you might remember back in the concept, we had a silhouette that would take form next to the shelters, and this would bring out one of the stories that was on that shelter. So this is Jeremy Bolton's, one of his, I think, his apprentices, standing next to the silhouettes that are now in place, and he did a magnificent job with the artwork that Emma, our designer, pulled together and tried to tell the story of each. So they are now in place and look stunning, absolutely stunning. We do have a bit of an issue with the kangaroo. He's facing the wrong way, so we managed to stop traffic on the highway because they think he's about to cross in front of them. So we had to just turn him around. And not stop traffic so suddenly, but hey, look, everyone's noticing it. That's a good thing, right? Yeah, you can see you've got various, well, as I say, every shelter's got one of these. So these are going to become a bit of a collector's item with people sort of going around the district and having their photos and selfies with the
Laurie, the lady,
yes,
go back again. Yeah. The lady there, in the right-hand side, that.
Oops, yep, and here, yep, Matilda.
Sorry, what was her name again?
Matilda Wallace.
Yes. So I was showing some photos after I came back to a group of people that I worked with 100 years ago. And the guy looked at me and he said, Matilda is my great grandmother.
Wow.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah. So and he said, we don't actually have a really good photo of her. Anyway, he sent me a photo of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a great great.
Did we get it right? Did she look like that?
Well, I'd have to go back through my photos now to have a look, but yeah, I like, how does that happen? I mean,
well, what moves in mysterious ways, doesn't it?
Yes, I know. It's just amazing. So
absolutely. Yeah, they've come. I've given you 2 shots of each just to show you how the sun really interacts with the silhouettes as well, which thanks to Mark when he was out there, took some gorgeous shots, and Ruth as well.
So I was a bit sad that the piano was burnt to pieces, but anyway.
Yeah.
Hence the steel.
You can't burn Matilda now. So
that's it. Yeah, so you can see here, these are the shelters in production and ready to be shipped off to us, and they're all now in place, bar 2, which is the Avenel. I'll go through in a second. You can see these beautiful signs were made here and then shipped over, and they just look stunning in location. So you can see again that the artwork and the way that these are designed is to capture the movement of the earth, and the slope of the roof is to give perspective on how it fits into the landscape, which I think it does amazingly well. So yeah, they're proving to be quite popular from what I hear, and everyone's loving the look of them. And then we went to the post office before. You've seen these photos. This was obviously the before, and this is now the getting to the after, where you had cocktail hour the other night, and then this is sort of where it's up to now without the fencing. So it just it really does bring this building to life, and you can see, as Ruth said, the air that comes through here makes that ventilation perfect for the building. And then we jump into the museums. Now, this is the Tibooburra Museum in construction, and you can see in the inside there, the artwork won't be far away to be put on the walls there, but you can see as it was delivered and put in place, which is just opposite the 2-story and just up the road from the family, if you're getting perspective. Actually, it's right next door to the open air cinema, if that gives you a bit of more perspective. The beautiful thing about the museums is other than that one, the ones in Milprika were done by the same person. So to your comment before, Dennis, about murals, the beautiful aspect that this one has is the same as the Gem Centre, which is the same as the cottage. So they're all looking in the same colour scheme and certainly fit into the landscape well. This is the Sturton Kidman Museum, which most of you have seen now coming into place and being positioned. So that was the first one to come in, and you can see that there from looking from the Astronomy Park back to the Heritage Precinct. Right here is the camp kitchen that was under construction at the time, and I'll show you some photos to where that's up to at the moment in a second. And then you go into the Sturton Kidman Museum, and this is what it looks like. It's beautiful. Minimalist content, but powerful content, and really gets people. This was the famille that we took up there in March. With you can see there's a journalist from NRMA, Open Road, Outback Magazine, Broken Hill Visitor Centre people, Wentworth Visitor Information people, National Parks people, all on that famille. So it was great to be able to share the new museum with them, with the diorama in the middle. This is the toilet blocks and the kitchen that Ruth was talking about before. So here's your mural opportunity, Dennis. This is what Ruth was talking about. So she had this idea of this circular area that could be nice with some landscaping, but certainly these open up to some great opportunities with some art. And I should have mentioned before, we're actually getting a mural put on the side of the Tibooburra Museum by Clark Barrett, who you might know. So that'll be another addition to the art trail. And there you can see the camp kitchen. And anyone on this screen responsible for this beautiful fire pit? Or was that, who did that, Ruth? I can't remember.
It might be John and
Yeah, so that's
John and Wendy.
Wendy, yeah. And then they added to it. I just want to add that yours truly is not particularly happy with the look and feel of that camp kitchen yet, and simply because there's still it just doesn't, the wind and any rain isn't blocked, and so we're looking at alternates now to sort of fill in the gaps, whether we use clear perspex or whatever, but with we'll block that. There's just no protection. There's no windbreaks from that southern and southwestern side. So we've got to do something.
Moving on, so then we're into the beautiful next museum, which is right behind the Gold Mining Museum, and it's affectionately known as the Gem Centre. So you can see it here in construction, and I think Ruth will attest to this. The guys that helped build this went over and beyond. They really took this under their own belt and wanted to make it something they were also proud of, which was great, because we've ended up with this beautiful display cabinets right around the wall to be able to show off the gems from Charmaine's family. And this is the video that they shared with us. They were so proud to be part of it. Oh, hold on. You can't see it. It's behind that. Hang on 2 seconds. There's 2. Let me get rid of that, and then we'll do this, and then you'll be able to see it. And I'll share it again. For some reason it doubled up on me. And here we go. Compile a video for us as well, shows that they're incredibly proud. This next building is the beautiful cottage. This is the caretaker's cottage that's now in place.
Whoa. The caretaker's cottage. Wow.
I think Ruth and I are moving in next week, so the tour has started.
You can have the sofa lounge. What do you call it? The sofa bed, Laurie. I'll have the queen.
Okay.
Very nice.
Mm. It is very nice, and it actually begs comments around a conversation I had with
ABQ.
John, was it yesterday, whatever. It is nice. It's got this little deck that overlooks the creek. It's very modern. It's very clean. So, following on from the conversation I had with John, over the summer coming, Peter Strom, whom some of you know from Moama, had planned to go up and do a bit more work at Milparinka, including some upgrades to the kitchen benches and so on in the existing cottage. So I asked John and Wendy, the caretakers who have been up there, if they would measure building up and so forth, so that we can do a bit of the floor, for example, in the existing cottage is getting really a bit tacky. It either needs to be sanded and polished, or we put some vinyl or something on it, whatever anyone. But it's difficult to keep clean. The mice come in, the rain comes down through one of the windows, and everyone has to fight over the armchair to see, what's going on cooking the stove. So I think, in view of the fact, pardon?
That's all right. It's a video. Keep going.
I think, that we'll over the summer, once Peter's finished filling sandbags at Moama, I'll have a yarn to him about how we can modernise the cottage without changing the aesthetics of the cottage, but just make it cleaner. This I feel bad. This is lovely. But we've got air conditioning now in the stone cottage, which is good. And we'll just work. We can afford work towards
Wendy,
making it more comfortable for everybody. Yeah, I just don't want anyone fighting over who's going to live where.
You've already created that, so yeah. But no, it's great, and certainly, it's great to have the support of something like this for your volunteer effort as well.
I want that one.
That's Wendy, by the way. Pardon?
I said, I want that one.
I'll fight you for it.
Great. So moving on to the art. Sorry.
I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, you did say this.
I knew this was going to happen.
So moving on to the art trail, and as you already saw, the Bilbies and the Bandicoot and the Quoll, which was the start to our art project. You've also probably seen one, which you'll see in a second, the one at Milparinka, the writing desk and the tribute to women in Milparinka. This one's the pack saddle, standing stones, I call it, but it is literally Ian Maher's tribute to Sturt and his men. And you can see there he's listed all of the men in Sturt's party on one rock, and all the towns that Sturt visited on the other. And a beautiful part of the artwork is a blank stone where he says, well, future hasn't been written yet, so we'll see what we can have on that in the future. But
where's the Sturt one?
This one, this piece is at Pack Saddle, right outside the roadhouse.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So you can see Burke there with the pack saddle standing right next to the windmill that's outside the pub, and this is the art piece here with the three, the blank one, the Sturt's party, and all the towns where Sturt travelled to and through. So it's a beautiful little yarning circle as well, so people can mill about there and appreciate the piece. Moving on to more artwork, you've seen this one. This is the one that's currently in place. It's probably one of the, well, it was probably the second lot of art that went up. And this is the rammed wall and steel writing desk and chair, which is the tribute to the women of Milparinka who wrote letters back home when they were left alone to help the kids while the men were out fossicking. And then our beautiful camel. So this one, again, out of wire, was done for a testament to the cameleers that really settled outback Australia, and it is located in Tibooburra. This is it under construction, and you can see the detail of the wire here, and holding it together with screwdrivers and that as he went before he finished it off. And as a finished piece, he's stunning. He is absolutely. So he's positioned outside the Tibooburra Museum, which you see. This is the wall that will have the mural on it as well. Yeah, he certainly gets a lot of attention, that's for sure. And this is the piece that's in the Sturt Museum, done by Clark Barrett in tribute to Charles Sturt. So that's his painting, which is now bigger than life size, on the end wall of the Sturt and Kidman Museum. The other pieces of art that are happening, you would have seen Greta Walker's. That's been in place for some time, and as the museum finished. Did Clark actually do that one, Ruth, or was that a combination? Oh, she's gone. She's left me. Okay. The other piece of work is this one here, and this was a late edition. We needed something to really tribute art-wise to Sturt himself, and so Ruth came up with the idea of it'd be great to see Sturt walking his horse towards the direction of the can. So Ruth found this and sort of diagrammatically did what she was thinking, and this is what it looks like today. So he's now starting on Sturt as the piece, but the horse is just incredible. So this will be positioned in Milparinka, but look like on Loftus Street towards the end of town, as if he's heading towards the can. The Astronomy and Night Sky, oh no, I can't spell night, obviously, Night Sky Park. As we said, this is opposite, you can see here in Harry Blore Park. This is coming together really nicely, and the landscaping, obviously the weather has been very kind to the gardens, and it certainly looks nice and green and beautiful, and some beautiful flowers coming up. But it's beautifully landscaped to take people on a traverse through the landscape and see the signs that will be in place, which I'll show you at the end, what they're going to look like. But there's got some seating and just walkways, and where that concrete plinth is will be a 5 metre tall Harry Fasher structure of an emu, which is to obviously reflect the dark sky emu and the Aboriginal connection to dark sky and the interpretation, and showcase that in a piece of work that is welded steel. So we're dying to see how that thing's going to get out here, but we will look forward to seeing that in place, which will just be outstanding in the position. And really give this park a little bit of a lift. The other part of the park you can see here is a plinth where a planisphere will be placed. Now the planisphere is two pieces of metal. One is movable and the other is static. And that actually showcases the star alignment. So you can position it to say, okay, if you're standing there in September, you can align it to see what you should be looking at above in September with what you're seeing on the planisphere. And that's the work that Ruth was talking about by Marnie and Fred. More pictures there, and this is one of the images that will showcase on the information posts to sort of give the perspective of how astronomy was done and what it all means. But yeah, you can see the beautiful landscape and how it really it'll get kids into there and playing around during the day, but at night it'll just give a beautiful aspect of seeing the stars from that space with no light here at all. This is the Tielta campground, which is near Avenel and Mount Westwood. So these are the recent purchases by the National Parks and Wildlife, and they have just completed this beautiful campground that is now open to the public. Our final information day and silhouette will be going in this location to interpret the story of Avenel and how it fits into the whole Sturt Steps. And the silhouette will be of a mica to obviously reflect the Aboriginal history in the area. And the other thing I mentioned, which it hasn't come up, and I don't know why they haven't come up, is we were in R.M. Williams Outback magazine in October, what was it? August, September. There's a couple of pages here that are missing, but they're of Ruth and the project. So we got that because of the FAMIL that we ran back in March and getting those journalists through. So apologies, that's not showing. I don't know why it's not showing. And that's pretty much it for that. Now let me just go to the PDF of the Night Sky Park for you so you can see. Oh, and the digital platform, that's the other thing I haven't spoken to, but let me just quickly show you what the planisphere looks like. So you can see this is the artwork, or the concept drawing of the planisphere. So you see that plinth, this is how the metal planisphere will look, so people can turn this and engage with the night sky depending on when they're there. And this is it in concept, so it can be turned to the area that they're looking at. And these are the signs. So you can see the reflection of a darker palette, which gives the effect that this is about more of the night viewing, even though obviously it'll be read during the day. But it's still part of the Sturt Steps branding colour palette. So they've come up really nicely, and these will be positioned around that park with the swells that you saw before. So interpreting obviously the emu that will be in the park as well as some beautiful images and content. The digital platform, the website is coming together quite nicely. It's a long work in progress. And if you might remember from my talk last year, we couldn't spend any of the infrastructure money on marketing and promotion. So the website development and the engagement of the interpretation is where we need to spend the money there. So there are some characters. These aren't the final, but I thought I'd show you quickly. These are the characters that have been created to guide people through the journey on the application, so a mobile application to help interpret some of the stories and bring it to life. So you can see that we've got some very colourful and fun characters that are going to guide people around and tell stories that more come to life than reading a book or reading a sign, and engaging them in a different way, and particularly kids as well. So that's coming together quite nicely. That'll be the final piece, tie everything together. So we're hoping that'll be done probably by March or April next year. Any questions? That's a lot of content.
There's a lot of, Laurie, thank you. One of the things that you haven't, didn't touch on in that digital stuff is all the podcasts, this little documentary that's being made about Sturt.
Yeah.
Jason
part of
King is doing the filming, and so you talk to that.
Yeah, so
and also the getting to know you.
Yeah, so like I said, the app is designed to really bring everything to life. So what you'll see when it is done is there's going to be stories from locals, there'll be stories about Sturt, there'll be interpretation done that sort of pitches at all different levels and demographics. So it gives you a multitude of opportunities when you download this content to be able to select your own journey. And these characters will help you do that. So depending on, if you wanted to hear more of a kid's side of the story, then what Jason's done is brought the kids' stories to life and put that into the app. Then if you want to hear more of a history base, then he's got, I'm trying to think of his name, Ruth, what's the guy who's doing the, if you remember Blue Healers back in the day, he was one of the actors.
Oh,
He was out there filming when we were there,
Yeah,
but I can't
yeah.
remember his name. Big, tall, skinny fella.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him. Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah, he's
Oh,
That's right,
added
yeah.
that element to the interpretation, which is
yeah, I can't think of his name. Yeah.
yeah, so it's really coming together quite nicely.
me.
To see the end product.
Yeah. No, well, the whole project's coming together. It's sort of getting towards the pointy end now. We're sort of not rushing, because once you start rushing, you make mistakes. But trying to just keep it moving along steadily, making sure we, get as many elements into it as possible, make it as fabulous as we can possibly make. Yeah, it's a day job for me and Laurie and quite a few others. But anyway, it's fun.
Yeah.
I'll retire when it's done.
I've got a
But
question,
anyway.
Ruth. It's
Yeah.
Ellen. I was just wondering, with all the
Mhm.
digital stuff, working in government, just of late, there's been a big drive to make everything user-friendly in terms of accessibility, in terms of colours and the fonts and the, whatever. Are we doing any of that stuff? Are we taking any of that into consideration when we develop this stuff?
Yeah, really good question, Ellen. There's some great tools out now that can actually assess a website with some of that stuff. So when it's finalized, we'll be able to run it through some of those tests, and it can pinpoint some things that need to change. So that's quite an easy way to fix things as we go. We haven't done it initially because at the moment there's so much content being put into there. And as Ruth will attest to when she saw it the other day, there's piles and piles of information, but that was what we needed. We need a depository for all of this content. So as we're refining it and making it more of a visitor experience, I think that's a really great point that that needs to be done at that point too.
Awesome, thanks. And I was thinking particularly, Milparinka might not be especially accessible for, certain people, but the website would be. So it would be one way of visiting without actually, if you physically couldn't be there.
Yeah, great point. Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Well, whatever time it is, there's 9 o'clock on my. No, that's it is.
Oh,
Does anyone else want to?
yes, Ruth, can I
Right.
just ask a question, please? The touring route signs, are they going to be put, are they featured on a website?
You're talking about the directional signage or?
The information ones.
Yes, yeah. So that's all going to be on the website. Yeah. So at the moment they already are. They're on the steps.com.au. If you download the map, it actually shows you exactly where those signs are.
Oh, good. Yeah, that sounds great.
So, Charmaine, did you mean that the actual, so you can actually physically look at and read the material that's on that sign from your living room, or?
Oh, yeah,
you just want to
well,
know
more
where they-
so as a promotion thing, not necessarily to read it all, but just to, so that you're getting a taste, then you really want to go and explore that route.
Yeah. So I'm actually going, as Laurie said, there's a fantastic amount of information. I'm actually working systematically through the whole website at the moment and reviewing pretty much everything that's in there. One of the things that and it's only a personal view, I don't want everybody sitting in Sydney or Melbourne or Adelaide to be able to read everything that is on each of those shelter signs without coming out here. And so what I would suggest is that we actually provide a snapshot of what's available, that information. We provide an overview of the historical content, but we don't necessarily show them everything. They actually physically have to come out here and see it for themselves on the ground. Now, that's my personal view, and I might get knocked on the head for it, but
I concur.
we'll see how we go.
It's important to give
Laurie,
totally concur. You've got to give someone a reason to visit. I think the key, like what we've done, is put the locations on a map so they know that when they get there, there's going to be some content. But the actual interpretation is like a bit of a teaser on the website.
That's right.
There'll be content, even Ruth and I discussed this the other day, where it might be embedded in stuff, but it's not in the easy format that you get when you're in a location.
No, that sounds great. Yeah.
And I agree. I think that there's probably room for another project there to do that second part of it, which is some kind of a buy-in for people to actually. I just think that there are loads of people that are never in their wildest dreams going to be able to go to Milparinka for, to do Sturt Steps.
Yeah.
So I think that down the track we need to open it to in some way that those people for whom it's an impossibility still have access.
Yeah, and that will happen, Ellen. I just don't want to see them. The information that I'm writing now is it gives people an understanding, I hope anyway, of what the historical content is, what's out there to see, and so on, without physically transporting them to the site. But I think we need to keep a little bit of surprise up our sleeve for everyone who wants to visit, so that they don't get there and go, oh yeah, seen that, saw it on the web. I think we need that excitement. Totally agree. I just think that's a project for the next project, Ruth. When you're done with this one, we can do a disability project. Thanks, Ellen.
You know what I mean. I've just spent a week in Adelaide, and I've seen a lot of people that when I go, oh my God, they're never going to be able to access that. So exclusion, that's my thing, I suppose.
Well, good
point.
Anyway, we'll do our level best and I think, when we look back, Ellen, you were there in those very early days with me, both of us, scratching around, wondering what the heck we were going to do. And look at it now. I mean, it's just, it's astounding to consider. And even back before we started Milparinka Heritage, the work that Raylene did in getting the courthouse, at least partially restored, the impetus that went behind that, the energy that she put into it all, it's all, and here we are now, 2022. I'll have to remind people who weren't back there then that Ellen and I started off with a bit of a restoration committee. Was it 1983, 4, something like that, Ellen? Do you remember?
No, I wouldn't have gone. Sorry, I do. I mean, I do remember.
Been 2 years old, Ruth.
No, I wouldn't have thought it was that long ago.
Seems like
Well,
just
it was that long ago, Ellen.
I was picturing
I've got photos to prove it.
Yeah, no, I know, but I was thinking of I was picturing the meetings of when we had an executive with you and myself and the 2 Johns, and we used to fudge the books so that we could say we had a quorum, and we made the 2 Johns come for lunch. I was kind of thinking about that.
That was in the early 2000s, but really the work started in the 1980s. So anyway, whoever would have thought? All right, well, these poor people look like they all need to go to bed. And
I found that photo of
Well, Jeff does anyway.
Matilda too, Laurie.
Sorry, what was that, John?
I said I found that photo of Matilda,
Oh, you did, yeah.
which I can show you.
Yeah,
It's not a
Compare and
one.
we'll compare.
Oh, please. Yeah, yeah.
It's not a wonderful photo, but and I have
We might be ripping out a silhouette and redoing it.
I've just blown it up because this is the actual size of the photo.
Wow.
And the other thing that I've got is the link, and it's quite a long document from Doug Hill, who is the descendant,
Mhm.
and yeah, he sent me the family document, and it's got you know, the family tree and all that sort of stuff in it. For there's Matilda there and Abraham and the descendants, and yeah, so it's quite a document on you know, a bit on Sturt Meadows and so forth. So I haven't done anything with it. I mean, I can ask Doug whether he would like to, you know, we could put that in the archive room if
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's awesome,
I think it'd be
yeah.
lovely, John. Mm.
so.
Yeah.
Do you want me to check with him and?
Yes. Yes,
All right.
please.
All right, I'll get back to him and see if he would be happy to put a copy up there, and at least if anyone went looking to more information on Matilda, then they could. So,
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that'd be terrific.
Mm.
All right. Yeah, progress. Okay, everyone. Well, look, thank you. If no one's got any further comments, we'll just keep on ploughing on, doing what we need to do. We do have a bit of a situation at Milparank at the moment, so if anyone wants to go for a bit of a drive and head on out there, that'd be good, as long as you don't get caught up in floodwaters. No, we've the people coming for this next fortnight got caught up between Griffith and Hay and Griffith and Tilston and I don't know. Anyway, so it's a bit diabolical, but so we're pretty much closed at the moment. I'll go up in the next few days, and unless I've put a thing on Facebook, if no one puts their hands up in the next couple of days, I'll go up and close up shop. But anyway, we've had a fabulous year, and I just again want to say thank you to everyone, and thank you again, Laurie. If you weren't driving this show, I don't know where we'd be, but
You might have got there quicker.
all right. Well, thank you, everyone, and I'll say good night.
Yeah.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good
Thanks.
night.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks, everyone.